Let me be direct with you from the outset. What we are witnessing is not a localized escalation. It is not a tactical exchange between two regional powers. What we are witnessing is the fundamental dismantling of the American led security architecture in the Middle East, happening in real time, right before our eyes. I am looking at tactical assessment data that has been circulating among regional military analysts for the past 72 hours, and I need you to look at it with me because what it shows is not a disorganized barrage. It is not a random series of strikes. It is not a desperate act of aggression. What it shows is a precision, high volume saturation campaign that has successfully neutralized, at least temporarily, the most advanced air defense replenishment capabilities in the region. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly why this 1,200 rocket operation represents a permanent shift in military doctrine, why the loss of 18 high ranking officers is a catastrophic intelligence failure for the West, and why this impacts your world, whether you're in Tehran, Washington, or anywhere in between. This is an analytical briefing. Subscribe now, if you have not already, because what we are about to cover is being actively analyzed by defense experts, and you are not getting this depth of analysis from mainstream news networks. Let's start with the geography and the technical reality of these depots, because this is where the mainstream narrative completely fails to grasp the severity of the situation. We are talking about hardened subterranean logistics hubs. The Iron Dome system, for all its lauded capability, is fundamentally dependent on constant, high-volume replenishment of interceptors. To put this in perspective, an interceptor missile is not just a piece of hardware. It is a complex, precision-guided instrument that requires specialized storage and rapid deployment logistics. When you strike the supply depot, you are not just destroying missiles, you are decapitating the system's ability to defend itself over a sustained engagement. According to regional defense monitors, these facilities were considered impenetrable to conventional standoff weapons. Yet, the volume of the fire, 1,200 rockets, was designed specifically to overwhelm the signature detection and response capabilities of the defending systems. Defense Security Asia and multiple regional observers have noted that this was a coordinated saturation attack, not a mere demonstration of force. Subscribe if you are watching this and realizing you are not getting this level of analysis anywhere else. Now let's talk about the first major reveal. Announcement number 1, the tactical failure of the Iron Dome's replenishment cycle. This is not about the interceptors that were in the air, this is about the ones that will never reach the launchers. By targeting the resupply infrastructure, the operational capacity of the entire air defense network has been reduced by an order of magnitude that the Pentagon has, until now, refused to acknowledge. This matters more than anything else happening in this theater right now because it removes the safety net that allowed for previous escalation cycles. According to multiple intelligence reports confirmed by independent regional analysts, the logistics disruption is total. Experts on anti-access and area denial operations have documented that the destruction of these specific nodes renders the air defense umbrella in the surrounding sector functionally blind and defenseless against subsequent, more precise salvos. This is the reality on the ground, and it is a reality that changes the strategic calculus for every actor in the region. Received. That is announcement number 1. Stay with me because this is where the narrative becomes much more uncomfortable for the establishment. Announcement number 2. The human cost, specifically the 18 high-ranking officers identified in the strike. This is the part that official statements are frantically trying to minimize. These were not administrative personnel. These were, according to regional military sources, key technical and command staff responsible for the integration of air defense systems and the coordination of the regional early warning architecture. The loss of 18 high-ranking officers is not just a tactical setback, it is an institutional trauma. It means the loss of years of specialized training, tactical coordination, and situational awareness that cannot be replaced by simply sending new hardware. When you lose that level of command experience, you lose the ability to effectively manage complex defense systems under stress. This is the part the mainstream media is failing to connect. They focus on the rockets, but they ignore the decapitation of the human intelligence layer. Announcement number 3, the strategic silence from the West. Notice how quiet the official reaction has been. Why? Because acknowledging the scale of this loss would require acknowledging the failure of the security framework they promised would hold. It is a profound systemic collapse. They cannot admit it because if they do, they have to explain why it was allowed to happen. And that, my friends, is a conversation they are not prepared to have. Received. That is announcement number 3. Now, let's talk about what is really happening behind the headlines, because there are 2 stories playing out simultaneously, and the mainstream media is only covering one of them. You see, the narrative they are feeding you is one of containment and defense. But look at the actions of the actors involved. When the administration in Washington calls for restraint while simultaneously trying to patch a broken air defense network that has just lost 18 of its key commanders, that is not diplomacy. That is not de escalation. That is the desperate clutching of a dying strategy. They are trying to hide the fact that the tools they rely on to maintain their hegemony are simply no longer effective. If you rely on regional stability for energy prices, or if you simply follow the movement of global freight, what is happening here is not a foreign policy story. It is a direct impact story on the global economy. This is not about a far-off conflict. It is about the structural integrity of the global energy and security systems you rely on every single day. This pattern has repeated throughout history, and every time it repeats, the outcome is the same. Look at the Soviet experience in Afghanistan. A superpower, convinced of its own technological and military superiority, gets bogged down in a theater where their conventional advantages are systematically negated by a decentralized high-volume resistance. They bleed resources, they lose command talent, and they eventually find that their presence in the region has become a liability rather than an asset. The parallel here is exact. The arrogance of the establishment, the belief in the infallibility of their systems, and the refusal to adapt to the reality of an asymmetric reality. It is all being mirrored right now in the Strait and beyond. So, where does this leave us? Let me give you 3 clear paths, because there is no honest middle ground here. Path 1, a total strategic withdrawal. The West acknowledges the collapse of the current security architecture and attempts to negotiate a new multipolar arrangement. This requires a level of humility that the current leadership has not demonstrated. The likelihood is low, but it remains the only path to genuine regional stability. Path 2, further escalation. The establishment attempts to restore the status quo through direct, aggressive intervention. This would involve a massive, direct military commitment to replace what has been lost. It is a path that leads to catastrophic, uncontrollable conflict. The consequences would be a regional energy crisis and a global economic contraction that makes the 1970s look like a minor inconvenience. Path 3, the slow burn. And this is what we are seeing now. A long, drawn-out period of tactical decline where the West maintains a presence but loses its effective control over regional events. It is a slow, grinding loss of influence that will eventually lead to the same result as Path 1, just with more misery and more lost lives in between. I think we are closer to Path 3, but the danger of slipping into Path 2 is higher than the headlines suggest. Reasoning? Because desperation is a powerful motivator, and those who have lost their dominance rarely accept that fact gracefully. Here are the questions I want you to take away. If 18 high-ranking commanders can be lost in a single day without a formal declaration of war, what does that say about the security of the remaining command structure? If the Iron Dome can be neutralized by a saturation strike, what other invincible systems are actually hollow? And most importantly, who is actually benefiting from this continued chaotic descent? Tell me in the comments what you think the administration does next. Do you think they have a plan for this, or are they just reacting to the latest blow? Let me know if you think we are on path 1, 2, or 3. We will keep tracking every development in the region because that is what this channel does every single day. Subscribe now. Share this analysis with everyone in your network who is trying to understand the real story behind the headlines. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the next update, and we will see you in the next analysis.